Hello, hello, hello out there, future millionaires. We have a guest with us today who wants to speak with us about mindset and motivation. And if you know, you listen to the show, that is what we're all about. I want to say good morning to Elizabeth Miles. She's the founder of March 4th Media Company. She's an author and an authentic marketing consultant. Good morning, Elizabeth Miles. Welcome to the Millionaire by Morning Show.
Hello, Rashad. How are you?
I'm
And
doing
everybody
well.
listening.
And everybody listening. We there's a few things that in your biography I wanted to kind of touch on. One of the things that you said specifically was authentic. Authentic. You used the word authentic marketing consultant. Is there a reason that you use that specific word?
Yes, because it's very, very easy to get stuck in what everybody else is doing and what is working for everybody else and everybody else's business. But my business is not your business, is not the next person's business. And I think it's really, really important, especially in this day when it's so easy just to look at content and digest content all the time. We need to market our business in a way that feels authentic to us, to the message of our business. We can have two very similar core messages, but at the end of the day, they're still two very different businesses. And I think one of the things that I help entrepreneurs with is to tap into their authenticity so that that authentic marketing message can come through. That's really your unique value proposition for your business. It's you.
I agree 1000%. With all of the content that's out here, and I say this as a fellow marketer, you get lost in the message. And for marketers, that message is based on all of the shiny things that you see. Every time that you try to go in one direction, there's another something else tugging at you saying, try this, it's faster, it works better, it's more efficient. So then if you're not on your authentic path, you tend to maybe stray off of that path and you're not as authentic.
Absolutely. And that is something that I struggled with myself for so long. I kept watching videos and reading books and, you know, trying to follow the system that everybody promised me was this is going to work. This is the surefire method. This is it. This is the thing. This is the thing. And it never worked until I realized, well, no, because they're doing something completely different than what I'm doing.
Right.
And it's scary because it involves us having to tap in and trust ourselves that we know and we understand our business better than anybody else. We have to trust ourselves, which as an entrepreneur, especially when you're first getting into business, that can be really challenging and very scary.
Very much so. It's I compare it to just I say it all the time. It's just like, a bird jumping out of the nest for the first time. You
Oh, yeah.
just Yeah, you just really have to have faith that your little wings are going to work, you know?
And they do when we let them. We have to let ourselves fly, and we have to, and it's uncomfortable at first. I mean, it takes practice. Those little tiny wings that you're talking about are muscles that the more we use them and flex them, and then we can spread them out and they
Right.
get stronger.
Yeah.
But it takes practice.
Yeah. So, yes, let's go back to when you first began as a little birdie and jumped off the porch for the first time or out of the nest for the first time. Let's go back. When did you first what made you want to go down the entrepreneurial path, and then tell us a little bit about how you got started with that.
Well, I think, I mean, I was like 7 years old when I ran my first business. um, but I sold tickets to talent shows in my neighborhood when I was a kid. I got all the kids in the neighborhood. We would do talent shows, and we would sell the tickets for a quarter. Um, but really, grown up business, right? Um, I had always had this dream as a kid that I would open a bakery and cafe. And so my first business was Sweet Ladybug Baked Goods. Um, and I was in business for about 5-ish years. And what that took such pivoting up and down to really settle into entrepreneurship. I had worked in marketing, I had worked in project management, consulting. I had done so many different things leading up to that point to get me ready for truly running my own business. I started out of just a commercial kitchen, rented some space. Within a year, I was moving into my own actual, like, I think it was a 1,200 square foot space. Acquired another business along with it, and took off from there. That first year, though, by 6 months, I was almost out of business because I was listening to everybody else. And I remember sitting down in my kitchen at the end of another day, throwing away products, and just realized like how awful it felt, what I was doing, and that I was running circles around a business that this was not the dream that I had set out to do. And I said, I never want to feel this way again. And that, at that 6 month mark, pivoted everything in the business for me. That's when things started to really change. I changed. I kind of threw everybody's rule book out the window. And that was the point where I had to trust myself. Unfortunately, COVID hit, and I at that point was not in a position to set my business up to be COVID friendly. I was running classes and birthday parties, and in addition to traditional cakes and cookies, but COVID was the reason that I unfortunately had to close. So pivoting again, in 2019, I was ending an abusive, toxic relationship that was going on for 20 years. I was on a camping trip where I literally heard a voice that said, "This is where you pivot." That was the point. On that trip, we were hiking a mountain, and I was scared, completely overcome with fear, paralyzed. I thought I was going to die on that mountain that day. And that voice, "This is where you pivot," just kept coming back. And I realized as I was standing and trying to get back down to safety, all of the ways that fear played a part in my life. I was watching other people hike this mountain, just relaxed and having a great time. I was watching a dog hike this mountain better than I was. And I'm like, what the heck is, like, why can't I do this? And I realized all the things that I was saying to myself, that I wasn't good enough. I can't do this. I'm not the right weight. I'm not the right shape. Who am I to hike this mountain? And I was like, wait a minute. Why am I doing this to myself? And then I heard, "This is where you pivot again." And I was like, oh, I'm the reason I'm standing here paralyzed in fear right now. And I changed and started to shift my focus in that minute to something else. Wait a minute, I really can do this. Let me take a deep breath. Let me focus on something else. Let me think about the trees. I heard a waterfall. Let me focus on that. let me focus on getting myself back down to safety. And minute by minute, step by step, I was able to get through it. And when I did, that was one of the most empowering moments of my life. And the one thing that made me truly pivot in my life, I was out of that relationship within 6 months. Realized that I wanted to help as many people as possible realize that they could do the same thing too in their life and their business. And that's really where March 4th Media and the books came from, was that day on the mountain.
Okay. Okay. March 4th Media is that a spinoff of This Is Where You Pivot?
So this is where you pivot. The Shift from Fear to Freedom is my first book.
Okay.
That is, I'm telling my story in that book, of the day on the mountain, overcoming fear, all the lessons that I learned and thought I knew, but had a completely different framework after being on the mountain that day.
Right.
And I'm sharing things that I have learned over time to help me overcome fear. I have a second book, The Journey to Healing, Love Yourself, which is essentially, you've made this choice to pivot, now what?
Right.
And then Connect You is the workbook, for those that want to start on their own path, right? It's mindset, motivation, how to set boundaries. So the books and the coaching are me. And then March 4th Media is, we have a magazine and the Power to Pivot podcast. And my goal through March 4th Media is to help share stories for those who have made the choice to pivot in their life in some way and are using their voice to help other people grow as well. I've had the opportunity through the podcast. We've done over 100 shows at this point. Okay. Interviewing entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, coaches, business owners who, that involves such vulnerability when you're opening a business and you're sharing your story and your why. That's what March 4th Media is all about.
Okay. All right. So I have a clear view, clarity. Now, March 4th is more of a community.
Yes.
You've built a community of all of these people for them to basically share their why. Someone else can pick up on it. If they have that same struggle, they can speak on it. They could try to overcome it by listening to or reading March 4th, the magazine, listening to March 4th, the podcast. I have that correct?
Yes. And one of the things that I talk about a lot on the podcast and through the magazine, we are all about community. We can change the world when we come together and share our story. We all have something to learn from each other. And as we do that, we can grow together. It's not about one person being better than another. It's all about, we are all here on the planet together. Let's do good, but by and with each other and help each other, lift each other up.
Right. I agree 100%. Now, is March 4th for a certain group? I noticed you mentioned creatives. Did you get like creative people together as, you know, we're going to spread the word through our, you know, creativity? Or how does that work with March 4th?
So the interesting thing, and something that I encourage people to think about, right? Whether you are in finance, accounting, writing, coaching, if you're starting a business, you are a creative. You have a creative vision. So March 4th Media, the community that we have grown incorporates every different type of business. I've had authors, like I said, financial consultants, coaches. So it's not necessarily for one specific person, or if you're an entrepreneur, you are a creative, you are building a creation that's coming out of your heart and soul. So it's more about that story, that moment that you learned that you were holding yourself back and you wanted to break free. Because from that point, that's the point that we're looking to get at with March 4th Media, because people forget the power of their choice. People forget that they can choose something else for their lives. So the stories that we're sharing, when I'm interviewing on the podcast, that's one of the main things that I want to talk about. We don't script the episodes or anything like that. It's a conversation very much like we're having now. But what I try to dive into is that moment. What was that moment like when you realized you had to choose something different for you? That's where the power lies.
The moment of the pivot.
Yes, yes.
We all have it. We all have it. And a lot of people that I've interviewed, their pivot point was COVID. It was during that time. A lot of people started their own businesses, and a lot of people learned what Zoom was and really how to jump into the internet and make money off the internet. Coaching programs blossom, mentorships and things of that nature. So that's one positive I could say that came out of COVID.
Yes.
And so we're still dealing with it, and we're marching forward with that. March 4th Media grew out of that. So yeah, we're all marching forward. A lot of people have been pivoting. I will ask you, Elizabeth, from that time point till now, what keeps you motivated to keep going?
The community. It's really about the community and the people that have come into my life as a result of that, and just the community that we've grown. That keeps me going, because the work that I do with March 4th Media is so important. The world right now is a scary place when you look at all the negative things that are going on in the world. And we can flip the script on a lot of it if that's what we choose as a human race. Like, we are all human at the end of the day. We need to get to a point where we can flip the conversations around and start asking new questions that are going to be uncomfortable, but we have to tackle these topics from a different way if we're going to get different results. That's what motivates me every day. I have that vision for a better world where people can respect each other and get along with each other, and we're different, but that's okay. Different doesn't mean bad. We don't have to be afraid of something or someone that is different from us, than I. That vision for the world is what keeps me moving.
Okay. All right. Amazing. I like that answer. Marketing. That's one of the caveats. We have 8 caveats here that I kind of like to run down. They all start with the letter M. So as far as marketing goes, how do you find the people for this community?
Primarily, well, it's interesting. So social media is very powerful. I'm in a number of groups on social media, on Facebook. But honestly, I've been very grateful and blessed because people have found me.
Okay. Okay.
And a lot of it has been through referral. I get contacted, I'll get an email, hey, somebody that was on the podcast previously had a good experience. This is my story. Do you think it's something that we can share? And absolutely. And then, I mean, that's the primary thing, actually. If I had to think about it, I'll engage in the groups and we'll find, some new people, but ultimately it's been for the majority. And that's the best thing. That's the best place a business can be in. It's people are marketing for you.
Oh, definitely. That's number one. Definitely. I you know, so the name of my podcast and my brand is Millionaire by Morning. Although it has the word millionaire in it, it's basically based on mindset and telling these type of stories and about pivoting and about moving forward, you know, overcoming. That's what it's based on. That's what I get a lot of stories, a lot of people that tell me that. However, I do get people that come on thinking that it is a finance show, right? And although I am a marketer and business person, it is, as far as business is concerned, about $1 at the end of the day. And we would like to make as many of those dollars as possible. But speaking here with you, you have yet to bring up the monetary factor involved. So just based off that, and I just wanted to say that this because it's just something that I noticed. I could tell that it is a passion, right? That this business is a passion and it comes from a place of helping and a place of giving back, judging by all of your answers and everything that you said today. And I just want to commend you on that. A lot of people do get stuck in the making money aspect, but also we are here to make the world a better place. So I commend anyone who is doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
If I had a little clap button, you get the little clap.
I mean, it's interesting, right? Like the money, we need money to survive. Like, let's, we have to buy food, we have to put gas in our cars, like we have to pay for our internet to be able to be on social media, to be on Zoom. I get it, right? Money is important. There's an energy of money, like there's a mindset around money. And when you decide to pivot into entrepreneurship or pivot to change your life, the money mindset piece of it has to be part of that. If you want to make your first million or your first billion, there's an energy to that. There's like, you will continue to work through the layers of limiting beliefs and fears and things that are holding you back that prevent you from hitting that point. Once you make the choice to, I'm going to work through this because I want to be here at that level, that opens up a whole lot of doors for you. And there's so much power there. Everybody has the capacity to make that $1 million, right? Like if you choose it as an entrepreneur. But you also have to look at why you want it.
I agree. I am in full agreement with that. It all goes back to mindset. It all goes back to you being on that mountain and looking around and saying, is this what I really want? Because the only person that's stopping it is me.
100%. And let me tell you, I questioned everything about life that day hard on the mountain. Did I love my kids enough? The crazy questions that I was asking myself that day. And I say crazy because I never in my life before that would have imagined that I would have been sitting there that paralyzed with such clarity that I was doing it to myself. Like, but I was. Yeah. And that's what we all do. And that is what stops us every time. And in business and in life, really, like every new circumstance that we put ourselves in, it feels uncomfortable. The fear is going to come back. I don't want to ever give anybody the impression that I have the magic formula for making fear go away, because that is not the case. The trick really is not to make fear go away. It's, how do I handle that fear? How do I recognize that fear? The more you let yourself go through it and realize it's a cycle. And the more you go through that cycle, it becomes easier to spot the fear, easier to work through it, and then you continue to level on from there.
Level on and level up.
Yes.
So Elizabeth, what are your social media handles and where can people find and follow you?
So the website is thisiswhereyouPivot.com. It will link you to the podcast, the blog. The podcast is called The Power to Pivot Podcast. It's on all major podcast platforms, Amazon, Google, iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Facebook is March 4th Media Company. Instagram is March 4th Media Company. If you go to the website, though, all of the links for social media are there as well. You can find me. You'll see my face.
Okay. All right. And that is what you call a referral. We're trying to send people your way through our show.
Thank you very much. And honestly, if anybody comes, if you want to reach out, I have a free chapter of This Is Where You Pivot. It gives you a good glimpse into the story and where I was on the mountain that day. So reach out if it mentioned that you heard the episode on Millionaire by Morning, and I'll send you the free chapter.
Okay. Okay, everyone out there, you heard that. Elizabeth, I want to thank you for coming on our show today. It was spectacular episode because everything that you mentioned is exactly 100% what this show is about. I want to wish you much success on the rest of your journey and everything that you do.
Rashad, I so appreciate the work that you're doing, and very much appreciate the opportunity to be here today.
All right, not a problem. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks so much. Take care, everybody.
All right, goodbye.